Most people think the real relief comes the day they make their final mortgage payment. They imagine that moment clearly. The paperwork is done. The keys are already theirs. The bank stops calling, and for the first time in decades, the house finally feels safe. But that feeling doesn't last as long as people expect, because once the mortgage disappears, something else quietly takes its place. A bill that never gets smaller, a bill that never ends, a bill that doesn't care if you're retired, sick, or living on a fixed income. Property taxes. They don't arrive with drama. They don't announce themselves loudly. They simply show up every year, usually a little higher than before. And over time, they can become more dangerous than the mortgage ever was. For retirees, this is where the pressure begins to build. Your income stays steady or even shrinks. Your savings must stretch further each year. Healthcare costs rise. Utilities rise. Insurance rises. But property taxes rise as if nothing changed. What most homeowners don't realize is that the rules have shifted quietly and recently. Across the United States, states have been rewriting property tax laws specifically for older homeowners. Not debating them, not proposing them, passing them. Some of these laws freeze taxes permanently. Some remove large portions of a home's value from taxation. And a few go even further, allowing property taxes to drop so low they are almost symbolic and in rare cases, completely eliminated. There's only one catch. Almost none of these benefits happen automatically. If you don't apply, nothing changes. If you miss a deadline, the benefit vanishes for an entire year. And in some states, one missed form can quietly cost you thousands. Below are 10 states where property tax rules have changed in ways every retiree needs to understand. They have been reordered for clarity, long-term impact, and real-world usefulness. Number 10. Illinois. Illinois has a reputation that scares a lot of retirees away. High taxes, rising assessments, complex rules. And while that reputation isn't completely undeserved, it hides an important truth. Illinois quietly offers one of the most powerful property tax protections for seniors if you know how to use it. The cornerstone is something called the Senior Citizens Assessment Freeze. Once a homeowner reaches the qualifying age and applies, the assessed value of their home locks in at that level permanently. That matters more than most people realize. In Illinois, property taxes are calculated based on assessed value, multiplied by local tax rates. If your assessed value stops rising, future tax increases become dramatically limited. Even if home prices in your area double, your taxable value stays frozen. Recently, Illinois made a major change that flew under the radar. They raised the income limit significantly. That single adjustment reopened eligibility for thousands of retirees who had been excluded for years simply because their income was slightly too high. On top of the assessment freeze, Illinois also offers a senior homestead exemption. This exemption removes additional value from taxation, lowering the bill even further. Combined, these two protections can reduce a retiree's property tax burden by 30 to 50%, sometimes more. But Illinois has a strict rule. You must renew the freeze every year. Miss the renewal deadline in your county, and the benefit disappears for the entire year. There are no appeals. There are no exceptions. For retirees who stay organized, Illinois becomes manageable. For those who miss paperwork, it becomes punishing. Number 9. South Carolina. South Carolina took a much simpler approach, and that simplicity is exactly why it works so well. Once you reach age 65, two major protections activate. The first is the homestead exemption. South Carolina removes the first $50,000 of your home's value from property taxes. There is no income limit. There is no complicated formula. If your home is worth $200,000, only $150,000 is taxed. But that's only the first layer. The second protection is even more powerful. Your property assessment freezes permanently. That means the value used to calculate your taxes stops changing the moment you qualify. Even if home prices skyrocket, even if your neighborhood becomes highly desirable, even if assessments around you explode, yours does not. The combination is rare. Your taxable value drops immediately, then it never rises again. South Carolina essentially built a wall around retirees and said, this is where it stops. For long-term homeowners, this system can prevent tens of thousands in future tax increases without requiring annual renewals or complicated filings. Number 8. Indiana. Indiana doesn't rely on temporary programs or political promises. They wrote property tax protection directly into their constitution. That alone makes Indiana unique. The state caps property taxes at 1% of a home's assessed value. That cap applies to everyone, not just retirees. If a home is assessed at $200,000, the maximum property tax is $2,000 per year. No exceptions. No future repeal without a constitutional change. But retirees receive even more protection layered on top of that cap. Homeowners aged 65 and older can qualify for additional deductions that reduce taxable value even further. These include the senior deduction and the supplemental deduction. Income limits apply, but Indiana recently raised them. That change expanded eligibility to thousands of retirees who previously fell just outside the cutoff. The result is a system with a hard ceiling and built-in relief. Your taxes cannot spiral out of control, and as a retiree, you are given extra tools to push them even lower. Indiana doesn't make headlines, but it quietly delivers predictability. Something retirees value more than almost anything else. Number 7. Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't just freeze values, they freeze the actual bill. Once a qualifying homeowner reaches age 65 and applies, the exact amount on their property tax bill locks in permanently. Not the assessment, not the tax rate, the final number. If tax rates rise statewide, your bill stays the same. If home values double, your bill stays the same. Over a retirement period of 20 years, this can translate into savings measured in tens of thousands. Tennessee also has no state income tax, which makes this property tax protection even more powerful. But there's an important detail many people miss. This freeze is not automatic. You must apply when you qualify. And in some counties, you must verify eligibility periodically. For retirees who take action, Tennessee becomes one of the most stable tax environments in the country. Your housing costs stop climbing while everything else keeps moving. Number 6. Alabama. Alabama already had some of the lowest property taxes in the nation. Then they did something bold. At age 65, the state portion of property taxes disappears completely. No income limit, no home value restriction, no complicated application process. That part of the bill simply vanishes because Alabama's overall property tax rates are already extremely low. Eliminating the state portion often drops total property taxes to just a few hundred per year. In some counties, additional senior exemptions apply, reducing the bill even further. For many retirees, Alabama comes shockingly close to eliminating property taxes altogether, without publicity and without fanfare. It's one of the clearest examples of how quiet policy decisions can dramatically change retirement affordability. Number 5. Florida. Florida has long been a magnet for retirees, and property taxes are one of the biggest reasons why. But what many people don't realize is that Florida's system is not just generous, it is carefully engineered for long-term protection. Every homeowner in Florida qualifies for a homestead exemption that removes $50,000 of home value from property taxation. That benefit alone reduces tax bills immediately. But seniors aged 65 and older may qualify for additional exemptions. Depending on income and local rules, total protected value can reach as much as $100,000. Florida also uses something called the Save Our Homes cap. This rule limits how much a home's assessed value can increase each year, regardless of how fast market prices rise. So even during housing booms, your taxable value moves slowly and predictably. There is another feature retirees often overlook: portability. If you sell your home and buy another one within Florida, you can transfer accumulated tax savings to the new property. That means downsizing does not reset your tax protection. For retirees who move closer to family or reduce square footage, this single rule can preserve years of savings. Florida didn't just reduce property taxes. They built a system designed to keep them controlled for decades. Number 4. Texas. Texas shocked many homeowners with one of the most dramatic property tax changes in recent history. For years, Texas was known for painful property taxes, especially tied to school districts. Then voters approved a massive expansion of the homestead exemption. For school district taxes, the exemption doubled to $100,000. That change alone reduced tax bills across the state almost overnight. But seniors received even more protection. At age 65, school district property taxes freeze permanently. This is not a freeze on assessed value. It is a freeze on the actual amount owed. Even if rates rise, even if values rise, that portion of the bill stops moving. Because school taxes make up the largest share of most Texas property tax bills, freezing them reshaped retirement affordability. Texas went from being feared by retirees to becoming surprisingly competitive. The key, as always, is applying on time. Miss the application window, and the freeze does not activate retroactively. Number 3. South Dakota. South Dakota made a quiet change that completely transformed its property tax landscape. They removed the home value cap from their senior relief program. Previously, only homes below a certain value qualified. Now, any home value can qualify. Income limits still exist, but South Dakota calculates income in a way that heavily favors retirees. Only half of Social Security income is counted. That single detail allows many retirees with moderate incomes to qualify for full property tax relief. For those who qualify, property taxes can be reduced dramatically and in some cases eliminated entirely. Removing the value cap opened the door for retirees who built equity over decades but live on modest income today. South Dakota doesn't advertise this aggressively, but for those who understand the rules, it offers one of the strongest elimination paths in the country. Number 2. Georgia. Georgia took a long-term approach that few states are willing to attempt. They locked protection into the Constitution. At age 62, property assessments freeze statewide. This freeze is not based on income. It does not depend on home value, and it cannot be quietly removed by future lawmakers. That alone provides enormous stability. But Georgia didn't stop there. At age 65, many counties offer school tax exemptions that can eliminate most or all remaining property taxes. The exact benefit depends on location. Some counties offer modest relief. Others offer extremely generous exemptions. This local flexibility allows benefits to grow over time rather than shrink. Georgia created a layered system. First, stop assessments from rising. Then, remove major portions of the tax bill altogether. For retirees who plan carefully, Georgia can become dramatically more affordable with age. Number 1. Nebraska. Nebraska did something no other state has fully committed to. They refund property taxes already paid. Homeowners pay their property taxes as usual. Then they file a refund claim with the state. Based on income, Nebraska refunds a percentage of those taxes. For lower-income retirees, that refund can reach 100%. That means the net cost of property taxes becomes zero. Not reduced. Not frozen. Eliminated. The only risk is the deadline. Miss the annual filing date, and the refund is lost for the entire year. Nebraska is also working toward eliminating school property taxes entirely. When combined with the removal of Social Security taxation, Nebraska has built one of the most aggressive retirement tax systems in the nation. But like all powerful programs, it only works if you participate. Property taxes are not just another bill. They are a long-term force that can quietly drain retirement savings year after year. What makes this situation dangerous isn't the taxes themselves. It's the lack of awareness. Most retirees assume nothing can be done. They assume the bill is fixed. They assume paying it is unavoidable. That assumption is often wrong. Across the country, laws have changed. Exemptions have expanded. Freezes have been strengthened. Refunds have been created. But none of them activate automatically. The system does not warn you. It does not remind you. It does not protect you unless you take action. One missed form, one missed deadline, one misunderstood rule. That's all it takes to lose thousands for an entire year. The most expensive mistake retirees make isn't paying property taxes. It's paying more than the law actually requires. Check your state. Check your county. Understand the rules that apply to your age, your income, and your home. Because in retirement, stability matters more than anything. And the difference between security and stress often comes down to knowing which laws are quietly working in your favor and using them before time runs out.